WholeCEO with Lisa G. I'm the best-selling author of The Boss Weight Loss. I'm bringing you the top tips to be unstoppable. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to actually pull up a chair with today's top experts in weight loss, mindset, and business. Learn our top tips to set you up for success so that you can have more energy, be fit and resilient, and feel unstoppable. 32 years old, married, a fireman, 2 daughters, 11 and 9, has his own podcast, Hellbound with Halos, owns his own rental studio, VoiceCloud Productions. Kevin Rauber, welcome.
What is up? Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you just prior to this. I just want to let you know that. I'm glad I can help you in any way possible. But man, what a beautiful thing life is sometimes. You know, it throws you curveballs like this coronavirus thing we got going on and everything else. But somehow, some way, we all seem to make it through, right?
Oh, absolutely. I just love your story. And I love your quote about failure being the golden key to success that everyone is afraid to use. And
yes,
I've been failing forward for so long. That was actually my inspiration for even doing this podcast and interview series in the first place. So let's just back it up to your story and your checkered past, because I freaking love your story. I want to hear the down and dirty dirt.
So here's the deal, right? I came home at about 19 years old back from going away to college. I had quit college after about a year, the quick nitty gritty I'll give you. And then my dad pretty much threw the newspaper on the kitchen table and said, you're going to go get a effing job. So I'm like, okay, Dad, I guess I'm going to go get a job. He actually called a local media company for me. And then I applied and I got in very, very entry level in advertising, super green, took absolutely zero marketing classes, had never done it before. Sat down with the people there, talked with them, got in entry level, worked my way up the ladder, and they basically had me on the fast track there. So I was 19 when I got hired there. And by the time I was 24, I was an outside account executive selling multi-million-dollar contracts to car dealerships in our area, advertising contracts. So I was making almost $100,000 a year at 24 years old.
Oh my God! Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It was great, but it was also I say it was great and bad at the same time. But it was great because I learned a lot about myself. It was bad because I'm about to tell you what happened because of that. And it was great again because I learned about myself and was able to change myself. So I didn't die pretty much. We lived the fast life. I went to Hawaii. I went on cruises. I bought a brand new Camaro Z28, beautiful car. I just had so much money. I didn't know what to do with because here I am. I'm a single guy. I'm in my early 20s. I like to think of myself as halfway good looking. I mean, I'm getting a little old. So, you know, I turned 42. But anyways, so I was living the fast life and I was drinking a lot. And I had 1 or 2 times where I'd been pulled over on my way home from wherever I was with whatever accounts I had taken out, because that's what you do with these big accounts.
You're entertaining, right? You're drinking, you're partying.
Yeah, absolutely. You wine and dine them, you party, you have fun.
Yeah, fast life.
That's what you sell. That's what sells the contracts, right? It's a relationship. So anyways, what happened was on October of 2010. Now, I'm fast forwarding a little bit here just to not stay on that story. April 2005, I got hired as a full-time firefighter. I still was living this party lifestyle. You know, firemen tend to drink a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's like a high stakes game, like advertising and marketing too.
Yeah, it's no secret. We like our beers, and that lifestyle of mine didn't change. However, I took about a $40,000, $50,000 pay cut to become a fireman. So I left this fast-paced, high-earning job, become a fireman because that's what I wanted to do for a living.
So you wanted to pursue your passion, not what your dad wanted you to do.
Absolutely. My dad wanted me to be a fireman, but he also just wanted me to get a job. Now, mind you, my parents made me go to work when I was 13 years old, because in New York, you can get a work permit at 13 years old. So I worked on a farm. I have never not held a job since I was 13.
Wow.
So we fast forward into 2010. I'm still living that life, and I get nailed by the police.
So you got the DUI.
I got the DUI. Now here I am, a full-time firefighter, well-respected member of the community. A lot of people know me. More people know me now because of the podcast and everything like that. But it was devastating. I was in my bedroom for probably a good week straight, and I remember being curled up in a ball in the bed and just looking into the corner of the walls where all your two walls and your ceiling meet in that little corner, and I just stare at that. And I was in such a deep state that I thought I was losing my job. I thought this was it. I had a 3-year-old daughter at the time.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, my ex-wife and I had just divorced, and it wasn't related so much to that. It was more of the just we didn't agree on the parenting thing.
Right.
So
yeah.
that was a mutual split. But then, obviously, a newly single Kevin thought it would be a good idea to keep his high life going, and boom, I got hit. Right, and that's when my life changed forever. That day, I will never forget it. It was March 24th at about 1:28 p.m. or 1:28 a.m. I'm sorry, not p.m.
Right.
And yeah, so my parents had to come get me out of the police station. Now here I am. I'm 30. I was 31 then. And was I 31? No, 34.
34. Yeah. So you're going through your divorce and your DUI, and you have a young little girl.
Everything's hit. Everything's hit. I mean, I had you think of it as I had life. I had the life. I was a full-time firefighter. I had a beautiful little 3-year-old daughter. I was newly single, so I'm starting to turn, my life back around there. Started getting into fitness a little bit at that point, and then that came crashing in. Now, what I decided was that I wasn't going to let this define me. So after that week that I sat in bed and literally stared at the wall, my daughter came over, and I asked for my daughter as much as I could have her. And I did that because if I didn't have her with me, I may have taken my own life.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, when I say I was on this pedestal, like I was on this high of life, and then to have that happen, it literally felt like somebody took a sledgehammer to my brick wall and just, that was it. That was the end of Kevin.
Oh my gosh.
I decided that, playing with her and spending time with her and focusing on being the best dad I could be, got me through a lot of the harder times, because I was able to shift my mindset off of what was going on and onto what I needed to be focused on. So I didn't focus on what had happened. I focused on what is going to happen in the future. So what I did was I took that time to reflect on what happened and to show the world this wasn't really the Kevin that a DUI would portray.
And oh no, keep going. I want to know also about how fitness inspired you, because I know as a fireman you have to be super fit.
Yeah, you do. And I wasn't that fit. I'd love to show you some, you know what, after we're done, I'm going to send you an email of a before and after of me.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, aren't they great? So I love fitness. It was one of the passions that I found through all of that. I was able to go in and slam weights around and meet new friends and befriend people that wanted to live healthy and wanted to be healthy, and surround myself with good people. And that's what I did. And none of them knew what I had been through. As far as I'm concerned, at that point in my life, it didn't matter. That now in my life, I don't mind. I mean, I can come on your podcast and talk. I can go on my
Yeah.
podcast and talk about it. I'm okay with that
You're
because I
relatable.
own it. Right.
Like, this is how you failed forward. But what I want to know is all the tips. So it was
Right.
having your daughter, it was not focusing on what you can control, which is what already happened, but the
Exactly.
mindset piece and focusing on what you can control, which is your future. So
Right.
what are your tips on how to fail forward?
So, like my quote is, the failure is the golden key to success that everybody is afraid to use. And it's so true. And you hear some of the greatest minds in our country talk about failure, and you think about failure and the opportunity it brings. You have to fail
I've
to
been
learn,
there.
right?
Yeah.
Sure. Who hasn't, right? I'm sure your listeners listening to this right now are going, Kevin, you are so right. You have to fail. You think about it. Think about kids when they try to walk. They fall over 15 times, but that kid isn't developed enough to understand that nobody's going to judge them for that. So what do? They keep getting up and trying to walk, right? It sounds a little cliche, but it's so true. And that's what's true in life. That's why you have to own what you did. And that's where the own it comes in on my
Own it.
side.
I love it.
You own what you did. So I own the fact that I got the DWI. And what I can do with that from now on is educate people on how it affected me, which will in turn hopefully make their decision-making process when they go to leave the bar a different decision. And then have the people that have been in my situation understand that we make mistakes, we can overcome them, and we can show who we truly are. I was never diagnosed as an alcoholic. I actually, they diagnosed me with alcohol abuse. So when I would drink, I would just keep drinking and just keep drinking. And
I've
I'd be the
been
last
there.
one.
I was in
Yeah.
my 20s and 30s, even
Right.
40s, and partying. And
Yeah. Be out
I
till
know
three,
that
4 o'clock in the
invincible
morning.
feeling
Yep.
where you're like, oh yeah, this, like, you just keep going, and then
Right.
you just don't have the freaking brains to have someone take your keys away from you in the end of the night.
Exactly.
It could
But
have
what
happened
you,
to anyone.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? There's still people that I've talked to that probably have too many and still get in their vehicle and drive after. But the, I can't control that, and that's okay. If that's their decision, that's their decision. But the own it again. What you do in your life is on you. I made the decision. I got the repercussion. I
Own
own
it.
it now,
I
right?
love that.
And because I own it and I essentially forgave myself for what I did, I don't care what a single other soul on this earth thinks about me because of that. And when you are able to do that and you're able to forgive yourself, you'll find the most inner peace you'll ever find in your mind. And I say in your mind because it's all up here, right, Lisa?
Love mind.
Everything, right? It's all a mindset. That's all it is. So if you can understand that you control how you feel and other people control how they feel, if somebody doesn't like me that's walking by the road and they hear me talking to you and they don't like me because I have a DWI, I don't care. It doesn't affect me.
It's like what
It
other people think of you is none of your business.
it doesn't matter. It affects them. So they actually are the ones that are holding this inside of them and mad at themselves for not liking me because of something that happened in my past. They can carry that weight all they want, but Kevin isn't going to carry that weight.
That's not who you
So,
are today. That's who you were 10 years ago, by the way.
right, right. So that's the key. You need to understand that it's okay and we fail and that's how we learn. And I'll be honest with you, it's tough raising two kids, and trying to let them fail is very difficult too, because I want to sit there and pick up everything they do that's wrong and have them do right. But on the other hand, you got to let them fail too, because that's how they learn. My daughter will come to me with a math question, and I'm like, you know what? That's your homework. Do it yourself. And if it's wrong, your teacher will mark it wrong, and then maybe you and I can go over it together. But I'm not going to help you do your math homework because that's not how you're going to learn. I'm going to end up
I
doing your
love
math
that.
problem.
So you're
Right?
not going to be like going through school again and doing her homework for her and
Right.
helicopter trying to micromanage her whole life.
Sure. I get it to an extent where some people, maybe she needs a help with one question or something. Maybe it's a reading comprehension thing that she doesn't understand, whatever. But there were times when she would come to me multiple times and say, Dad, I don't know this question. And then I'd sit down 2 minutes later. Hey, Dad, I don't know this question. I'm like, whoa, stomp the brakes. We're changing this because you need to. And I don't say this to her. I don't say she needs to fail, but in my mind, she needs to fail. She needs to learn on her own. And that's what we need to do in life too. I needed to fail. I needed failure. I had failed. There's plenty of times I had failed. I had failed not getting some contracts, or cutting a contract short. Instead of $5 million, I might have sold a $3 million contract. There were times that I failed, and that's okay. But the biggest time I failed was the biggest time I needed to fail. And that was what essentially I think saved my life, because I was just pulled over. I wasn't in a ditch. I didn't hit anybody's kids. I didn't get in an accident. There was nothing to it. Luckily, I was going about 8 miles an hour over the speed limit, and the cop didn't want that at 1:30 in the morning, and boom. So there's things like that we all need to understand, that failure will lead us in the right path, and we can't focus on the negativity of the failure. We have to focus on the positivity of the future.
I love that. And do you have any last tips you want to leave our audience with do you have any tips on how to set your mindset up for success?
Yeah. So, what it comes down to is essentially rewiring your brain. We have neurofeedback, biofeedback in our brains. And what you do is you can consistently coach yourself in your own life through training your brain. So don't wait until something severely bad happens or a horrible failure happens. Start today. Start now of rewiring your own brain to think that, you know what, I wanted to run 1.5 miles today and I only got 1/4 of a mile. Instead of thinking that you didn't get that whole extra 3.75 miles or whatever you didn't finish, think of it as, at least you got your butt off the seat and went out and did something today. Just start rewiring your brain in very little increments like that. And over time, you'll have your brain rewired, and you'll start to look at everything in a different light, in a good light, in a positive light, and not a negative light.
Thank you, Kevin Rauber.
Yes.
Hellbound with Halos. I do that every morning. Wake up, set my mind up for success. And your podcast is Hellbound with Halos. I love that name. Where can people find you? How can they get to your podcast?
So the podcast is hwhpodcast.com. We're on all podcast apps. So no matter where you go, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, we're on them all. We've been around a little over 2.5 years.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. We interview a variety of people. Our talks go from anything from a fun, light-sided talk, funny comedians, to very down-to-earth, serious conversations where we've even had some of our co-hosts crying. So we hit it all. We really aren't a niche. We don't have a specific target that we hit. But check us out. It's fun. We have a good time, and hopefully you'll be able to relate with us as you can relate with Lisa G on her podcast here as well.
HWH.com. Thank you, Kevin.
All right, thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Good Pod. Protein shakes are messy, expensive, and hard to make. Good Pod is a new amazing shake maker that's a blender and a pod in one. Take a pod, fill your glass with water or milk in 60 seconds or less. You have a healthy protein shake and it's ready to drink. Just like that.